Hello, and welcome back to the D. Louise Poetry Podcast. If you're new here, I'm so glad you've joined me today. Each month, I share original poems and reflections on classic poetry across my blog and socials. And in these episodes, I bring it all together. Today, we're diving into this month's theme. What does success really cost? Not necessarily in money, time, or effort, but the part that's harder to admit, the loneliness, the disorientation, the quiet ache that sometimes sets in even when things are going well. We'll take a look at the poems I've shared, the threads that connect them, and the questions they leave us sitting with. Let's get into it. The first poem I shared this month is called Something's Missing. Let me read it for you. My spirits sang, but never to their song. So I gave it up, chasing the orchestra they claimed I belonged to. After the concerts, they applauded. But now, the melody that played was one I hardly recognized. So I wanted to give up music. Until I heard the quiet hum of an old tune. I instinctively followed the voice, not knowing whose it was, only that it felt like home. This one came from that subtle misalignment that can creep in when you try too hard to succeed in a way that doesn't really fit you. You start out with something genuine, something that made your spirit sing, and along the way, it gets distorted. You're praised, you're performing well, but the tune you're playing no longer feels like your own. And I think that's something many of us carry but don't always name, especially if we've spent years chasing opportunities or recognition. There's a strange grief that comes when you get what you worked for and find it doesn't really feel like what you thought it would. But that's where the second poem comes in, and this one's called Ride to Success. You may know the Road to Success ride, a very popular attraction. You go alone. No one can tell you what it's like because no story is the same. You waited so long in line for a chance, and now it's your turn. Quiet sickness stirs, worsening as the ride begins. It feels unsafe, wrong. All you can do is hold on. And if you make it out, only then can you choose. Do you run home, ecstatic at how thrilling it was, shaken by how terrible it was? Or do you dare to ride again? This poem sits with the confusion that often follows achievement. It doesn't mean success isn't real or that we're not proud. It reflects on the sometimes subtle and unspoken consequences of what may appear to be a beaming success to an outsider looking in. I think what ties both poems together is the silence around cost. We're encouraged to talk about hard work, discipline, resilience, but not always about the sadness, the disillusionment, or the loneliness that can live quietly inside accomplishments. And that's where I brought in Compensation by Sarah Teasdale this month. A poem that echoes the same feeling, but in a quieter, more haunting way. She talks about pouring your soul into something, enduring solitude and weariness, the chance to make something beautiful. Not even the guarantee, just the chance. I think a lot of us live in that tension, wanting to create something meaningful, wanting to give something real, but wondering if the cost is too high. I released a podcast episode on this poem last week, which you can listen to for more on this. But in summary, there's no neat resolution here, and that's intentional. These poems weren't written to fix anything, they were written to name something. So, if you're feeling caught in that tension between ambition and exhaustion, gratitude and grief, I hope you feel a little less alone. You're not broken, you're just honest. You can read more thoughts on this theme over on the blog. I go a bit deeper there. And as always, I'd love to hear from you. What does success feel like for you right now? What have you had to give up to get to where you are? And what might you be ready to reclaim? Thank you for listening. Until next time, take care of your voice. It always have and always will belong to only you.